My name is Caden.
My name is Eli.
And we are Youth for Yah. We are in Proverbs 5 this week, and that means we are 5 weeks in, and we are so grateful that you guys could stick around. And if you guys are new to this, thank you for joining the channel. This is a little bit of a series where we are trying to help the youth. We are trying to guide them and give them the best guidance they can have, which is from the Bible itself. And we're going to start in Proverbs because every young person needs wisdom. Every person in their life needs some guidance, and so we are going to do that. First of all, we'd like to let you guys know we have a Telegram group, which will be in the description, which is already in the description. If you guys want to click that and join that, we have a few people there already that are sending Bible verses, sending questions, that are just really friendly, Torah-keeping, Yah-fearing, and loving people. And we are very grateful for that. We are very grateful that you guys are there. So if you guys want to join that, please do. We are always there, ready to answer any question you guys have. The same thing we want to say is that if you have any questions or any prayer lists or anything that needs to be prayed for, please put it down in the comments. Please let us know. You guys can put it in the Telegram link. You guys can put it anywhere. And as you guys pop in here, hi Shayla. Hi, how are you doing? We are just wanted to let you guys know that we will be praying for those who ask for it, and we are ready to start this. So today's subject is going to be a little bit of more of an adultish subject. It's like keeping your purity. It's keeping yourself pure and staying out of the way of the lusts of the world. So starting off, we are going to have Eli begin in Proverbs 5, verse 1.
Alright. My son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow your ear unto my understanding, that you may regard discretion, and that your lips may guard knowledge.
So he already starts off in verse 1 and 2. And he's like, here he goes again. He goes, pay attention, listen to this, listen to my words. This is really important. And this is for everyone, right? Everyone needs to take this to heart. Everyone needs to understand that this is important. This subject is probably one of the more important subjects in life that you can have. So, you on?
Verse 3. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil.
So, in verse 4 it says the lips of a strange woman, or verse 3, it says lips of a strange woman, or it could be a man. And back in the day, a strange woman was more like a prostitute or something like that, but nowadays it can be a strange woman or a strange man, could be anything in today's that want to get you away from purity. That is what it can mean. They're not Yah-fearing people. They want you to defile yourself, and that is what can be considered a strange man or a strange woman in these days, in these times we live in. Especially for those that are out in the school or out in the world, this can be something they run into a lot, where they are pressured into doing something they don't want, but they end up defiling themselves in the end. So, continue on.
Verse 4. But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps take hold on Sheol.
So,
and
Sheol is the grave, or also known as like the holding place before judgment, or also known as hell. Just for everyone that wants to know that. So it starts talking about like how the end of it is. And so when you defile yourself, when you keep yourself impure, you are ruining your life. It says the ways that go down are death. And that is true, because when you defile yourself and you ruin yourself, when you become impure, you are not only taking yourself out of the 144,000 that can be pure, that are the chosen people that have never defiled themselves, and you are also ruining your own soul just by doing these things, because in the end you are going to feel extremely guilty knowing that Yah wants you to be holy and that you are not holy.
Verse 6. Lest you should ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that you cannot know them.
So I'm reading out how these scriptures, and he's reading out the Sefer, which is the app you guys are seeing now. And I'm reading out how these scriptures, and mine says, she does not consider the path of Kai. And for people that do not consider the path of Kai is the Torah. It's the walk. It's the special way that we live according to Yah's guidance. And it says the person, like the strange person, right? The person that wants to be impure, the person that wants to be an adulterer, a person that wants to commit sin, right? They do not consider the path of Kai, and they are unstable. Their ways are unstable, and they do not know it. And the reason their ways are unstable is because they do not know the path of Elohim. So they are out committing sin. They are out destroying themselves, ruining their body. Because when you're out doing these things, you are ruining your mind. You are out ruining your soul. And it makes very much for an unstable life and an unstable being.
Verse 7. Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth.
So again, he's like, listen up, this is extremely important. I need you guys to remember this because this is going to benefit you if you stay true to what is said here. And he's like, just don't turn away from these words. Don't turn away from them. I need you guys here. And it's like, it's what a father wants, right? And when a parent tells you something, like, please pay attention, listen to this, because Solomon, knows that this is going to benefit those who in life much farther down. He wasn't just writing this for his son, but for all children.
Verse 8. Remove your way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house.
So basically, stay away from the person who wants to commit these defiling acts, right? Stay away from the person that wants to defile themselves. And because if you go near it, you're getting closer to temptation yourself, because you do not want to tempt yourself. You want to stay far away from as much temptation you possibly can.
Verse 9. Lest you give your honor unto others, and your years unto the cruel. Lest strangers be filled with your wealth, and your labors be in the house of a stranger.
So it says here, like it's in my version, it says, "Lest strangers be filled with your strength." And when you defile yourselves, when you ruin your soul, when you do these things, because the moments of the pleasure that you have are not worth the soul for the rest of eternity, because when you do this, you ruin your soul. And it said you give your strength, like people will take your strength, you lose your soul. There will be other people to fill your spot in the kingdom when you do this to yourself. There will be other people that fill the strength. You will lose all the work you have done towards for Yah, and you will lose that by doing this deed.
Verse 11. And you mourn at the last, when your flesh and your body are consumed. And say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof? And have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined my ear to them that instructed me.
So here we are, and this is why he says pay attention, because if you end up in a situation where you have defiled yourself and you have done wickedness, you only get one shot in life. You only get one moment to where you can live either holy or you can defile yourself, right? You can choose the path of Yah or you can choose the path of evil. And then when it's over, right, if you end up defiling yourself, you're gonna feel terrible, right? You have something missing in your life now. Instead of waiting till marriage, instead of waiting for something, and that is you're gonna remember that these words, right? You're like, oh, I messed up. I was told not to do this, and I still end up doing it. It's like when a kid is told, don't touch the fire. It's hot, and he ends up burning himself. He's like, well, I was told this, but I still put my hand on the fire. And that's the same thing you're doing. You're reaching into the fire when you defile yourself, and you are ending up burning yourself. Because when you hate reproof, and this is why he says all the time, listen to what I say, listen to my wisdom, listen to my words, and like don't forget it, because he knows, right? Shlomo did not live a completely holy life. He may have wrote this book, but he ended up marrying 700 different women that turned him away from God. He ended up going out and becoming what the world calls a player, what the world calls a man or something. And that is not right. That is not a good thing. He ended up ruining his soul. He ended up losing the kingdom for his entire generation. They all went into captivity many years later, because he ended up crashing what was taken off and already in a flight of holiness. But what he did was he went off and defiled himself with so many other women. They turned his heart away from Yah, and that is why he ended up with this. And that's why, because he knows these things. He knows what it's like. He knows, he's been through it, and it's best to learn from people with experience, that have experience. And Shlomo here has experience in this. He understands what he has done. He understands this.
Verse 14. I was almost in all evil in the midst of the multitude and assembly.
And there he goes. He talks about it. He says, in the Holy Scriptures version, it says, in a little while I was in all evil, in the midst of an assembly and an evil congregation. He understands that he was committing evil. He was in the way of wickedness. And so we cannot let ourselves get to that point. We cannot let ourselves become wicked. We cannot let ourselves defile ourselves, because staying pure is extremely important in the sight of Yah, and to make the kingdom of the 144. Now the 144 is extremely important, and it's towards the end days that we have the 144 that become basically like special people of Yah. They become like the warriors of Yah, And if you want to be a warrior of Yah, you got to stay pure, right? You got to stay holy.
Verse 15. Drink waters out of your own cistern, and running waters out of your own well. Let your fountains be dispersed abroad in rivers of waters in the streets.
So I'm going to reread that a little bit because it's a little different. Every translation a little different. I encourage you guys to actually read from different translations, several different. If you guys get confused on something, go to another version. If you guys don't have like a original, like try as close to Hebraic as you can, just read out of different versions. I don't suggest the King James. It is very hard to read. It is very confusing. I say something like, even though the NIV is not a great Bible, it's not wonderful. The NIV is great. The CSB is great. There's a lot of different Bibles. You guys can experiment. The Blue Letter Bible app on your phone, on your Android, your iPhone device, you guys can get. You guys can do dual reading on that, and you guys can compare verses. But here I'm going to read. It says, it starts in 15. It goes, drink water from your own cistern, and running waters from your own well. Should your springs be scattered abroad, rivers of water in the streets? So here, like, it's interesting because we hear something that is from don't defile yourself to drink water from your own well. And what does that mean? And that means it's not actually figuratively talking about water, but he's actually talking about your soul, because your soul can be a fountain of you. It is your source, right? And then he says, drink from your own cistern. It should be content, right? We're going to get down to being content with the woman of your youth, the man of your youth. We're going to get down to that, but don't let your soul go somewhere else. Don't let it be run over in the streets where everyone else can bucket it out and destroy you from there, right? Because when you let your soul get to that point, you are opening yourself up for demons. You are opening yourself up for evil. You're opening yourself up for so much wickedness. And that is something you absolutely want to avoid, especially as a child of Yah.
Verse 17. Let them be only your own, and not strangers with you.
Exactly what I said before. Don't let people take from your soul, right? He says drink from your own wells. And doing so, in keeping your soul, is keeping yourself pure, keeping yourself holy in all things.
Verse 18. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the woman of your youth.
So there we go. He said, let your fountain be blessed. Let your soul be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth. Now, something that people, especially like children that are in the world, in the schooling system, they are pressured into doing these wicked acts, right? They like it's not a wicked act under a marriage, under a holy circumstance. But when you are in the world and you find someone that is not of Yah, that is not in a marriageable relationship, you are going to lose your soul. You are going to lose your soul. And it says, rejoice with the wife of your youth, because when you find that person that you love, right, that is in the Torah, that is the person for you that Yah has sent for you, you're supposed to keep them for all your life. You're not supposed to go off and cheat on them and do these things that would be wicked in the eyes of Yah, right?
Verse 19. Let her be as a loving hind in pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy you at all times, and be ravished always with her love.
So it says in mine, be captivated by her love always, but it says you are supposed to be captivated by her breast at all time, and that is kind of a subject to the youth. Like, that is kind of a little bit of a more adult-rated thing. But in another sense, another way you can explain it is, be happy with the person you've chosen for the rest of your life. You need to see them every single day when you wake up as, this is the most beautiful person in my life, and this is what Yah has given me, this is the most beautiful thing, right? You don't need to go off. The grass is not green on the other side, as a lot of people say. The grass is not green on the other side. And another thing I want to talk about is abortions, right? People end up with children because they did these things, and they don't want this child out, and they end up not only committing lust acts, and they committing adulterous acts, they end up having murder on the record too, because abortion is just even though there is some things going around that it is getting stopped in the United States, there's still everywhere else does abortions, everywhere is running it, and if you don't want the child, they just go in there and they get their child killed, and they're in their womb, and the child is never born. And that is a murder in the sight of Yah, right? Because when you take life out of something, that is something you've killed. All right, we got some people writing in here. We have, hi there. I'm going to try and not slaughter the pronunciation of this name. Anupkashi Kuwait, I think is how you say it. And hi there, Mason. How are you doing? So, just you need to be satisfied with the person you've chosen and not go looking off on the other side of the fence, right? You need to be happy with the person you've chosen for all eternity.
Verse 20. And why will you, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, embrace the bosom of a stranger?
So, there we go. He's like, why are you going to ruin yourself with a stranger, right? Why are you going to let someone that is going to take your soul and destroy it when you have someone that you love, when you have this? And there's a lot of things like to talk about in this subject. There's a big things like do not like cheat on your spouse, right? Do not commit these adulterous acts. But when you cheat on your spouse, when you do these things, when you do these acts, right, you are breaking your family, you're breaking your trust, you are ruining your soul. And like I've said before, the most important thing in this life is keeping your soul, because your soul is what is going to get you into the Shalim. Because if your soul is impure, if your soul is broken, that you're going to be impure, you're going to let the demons in, you're going to let Hasatan, Satan himself, ruin your life. And it only goes down from there. Like we talked about in the previous verses, your flesh is consumed, you howl when you're in the end, you sit there and you're in like a confusion state. You're like, how did I get to this point? And it's all because you committed this act that you've ruined yourself.
Verse 21. For the ways of man are before the eyes of Yahuwah, and he ponders all his goings.
So, Yahuwah sees what man sees, right? He sees that men are wicked at heart. I mean, it says so many times in the Bible, the heart is wicked. No one can understand it, right? Nobody knows why the heart is wicked except Yah. Yah knows why the heart is wicked. He knows the paths. He knows what the wickedness is. He understands it. He sees what you're seeing. He understands that you are lusting after something you should not be lusting after.
Verse 22. His own iniquity shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be held with the cords of his sin. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray.
So because he did not listen to these words, right, and we're back to the thing where young ones, children, young adults, listen to your mentors, listen to your parents, listen to those who are instructing you in the way that you should not depart from, that when you go off the path of righteousness, when you go off what you have been taught, and you do these wicked things, you're going to be destroyed because you do not have the discipline to stay on that path of righteousness. And that was the end of the chapter, but we're going to talk about a little more that Yeshua says that when a man looks at a woman with lust in his heart, he commits adultery, and that is also something you can do. Your eyes are the windows to your soul, and when you look at, for instance, pornography or things you should not be looking at, you are also ruining your soul. You are breaking down what you should not be doing, right? You are breaking down your soul. You are breaking down your life. And when you do these things, you are being very wicked in the eyes of Yah, because that is what Hassan wants. He wants you farthest away from Yah as you can possibly be. He doesn't want you near Yah. He wants you far away from him. And when you are in these acts and when you are doing these things, you are far away from Yah. Yah sees that you are unclean to him. You are doing things that he would not please him, because that was something that Adam and Eve struggled with. If you read in the book of Adam and Eve, was lust. Hasatan tried to get them to do so many things with lust that Adam didn't know what to do. This was new to Adam, but this is not new to this world. This is not new to us anymore. And we have instructions like Proverbs, you guys should be reading all the time. You guys should be reading the Bible all the time. I truly encourage you guys, if you don't read it with your family every night, or you're not reading it with your family during the day, read it by yourself. Just try and get something out of it. Learn something from it, because it's very, very, very important. I cannot stress this enough, that your soul is your most important. And it is starting to rain here and getting heavier, so if you guys can hear that, we apologize. And so keep your guys' selves pure. Whether it's man or woman, whether it's anything, do not get pressured into these situations, especially those in the school system. That is a huge thing, is people getting pressured into doing these things that they do not want to do, but they end up doing it anyways. You guys need to be able to say no, and that's why you should read your Bible, so you can be firm with confidence when you say no. I will keep myself pure in everything that I do. So that was pretty much the end of everything today. We thank you guys for joining us. It was a little shorter than this, but next time it'll be a lot longer. We thank you guys for joining us. Again, if you guys have any prayer requests, please let us know. Also, the Telegram group. We have the Telegram group. I thank you for that. Eli, explain to us what the Torah is a little bit.
The Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, also known as the Law. Some people call it bondage, but it is not bondage. There are no commands that are too hard for any person to do.
Right, so, yeah, the Torah is an instructions guide, and I know we talk about this every week. We talk about this in all of our videos. But the Torah is what's going to guide you in life. It is your Google Maps. Your destination is the kingdom. That is your final destination. But your Google Maps is the Torah. It's going to get you there. It's going to get you to the place where you want to be, right? You got all these crazy roads in life. You got all these curves. You got all these detours. But the Torah is going to keep you on that straight path to the kingdom. So, if you guys can stay pure and you guys can stay in the Torah, you will be absolutely blessed. Because if you ruin your souls, and that's coming from someone who's never dated, we never had girlfriends. None of us here in this house have, except, well, our parents, of course, but our brothers, we have never dated anyone. And that's all right if you don't feel like you're missing out on anything, because the kingdom is so much more worth than a relationship that ruins your life, that ruins your soul. And when you find that person, and you really need to absolutely pray for it, because Yah will put that person in your life. He will, when you pray for it, when you're seeking His word, it may not be right now, it may not be a year from now, it could take 10 years. You could be just like Jacob. He didn't get to marry until he was like 50, 60 years old, and because he wanted to stay pure, right? He's like, I've never seen a woman before, Mom, outside of you. I don't want to commit sin. What do I do? And she's like, Go to this person. She set them up with the holy people, and that became the Israelites, right? It became off someone that was holy. And now you can look at Esau, who was not holy. He went against what he was taught, right? He was taught not to commit adultery. He was taught not to do these things, and he still went and did them. And you can see how he ended up his life, right? He ended up with the lesser of the blessings. He ended up with the lesser of the birthright. He ended up getting demolished across the way. He ended up getting scattered more than the Israelites. Even though the Israelites were scattered down the road, he was scattered from day one. His life was not in order, and in order to keep your life in order is to keep on the Torah, because the Torah is going to keep you in check. And when you're not in check, right, your life's going to be spun out. There's confusion, and that's some of the curses of not following Torah. Confusion, desolation, stressing out all the time, right? That's part of it, right? Because you don't know what the next step is. You don't know what the plan is when you are in the world of sin. So thank you guys for following along. Please let us know in the comments if you guys have any questions, anything you guys would like us to add. If you have any Bible verses, any suggestions that we do on these videos, on these live videos, we do them every Thursday around 6 o'clock. Fortunately, 6 o'clock is not a number that the Satanists use, but it's a time that works out for us, and it seems to work out for everyone else that is on this channel. Everyone's off work, everyone's off school, right? And they can listen to it. So thank you guys for following along. Thank you guys for sitting along. Read your Bibles with your family, and stay in the Torah, stay in prayer, stay in the Word of Yah. All right, that is everything. Shalom.
Shalom.